Good morning. My name is Jim Wicklund, and this is Energy Espresso, a podcast where we try and talk about interesting things and things we learned, especially this past week. This week, I had the pleasure of running into an old friend of mine. Jan Stuart and I worked together many years ago, which is amazing because we're only about mid-30s now. So it's, it was...
We were just kids.
Yeah, exactly. And Jan is I'm going to ask him his title, but he's at Piper, and he has always been the guru of energy price, oil price prognostications, which is a scary, scary thing. So I'm on the elevator today at my office. I had to go pick up my computer. And there's a guy on the elevator, and I asked him about his hand. He was in a cast, but he misunderstood me. He goes, "I'm an oil trader." And I said, "Oh, an oil trader, well, what's going to happen to oil prices?" He goes, "Well, it depends on Iran." And I said, "Okay, well, so does it see 70 or 55 next?" Mm-hmm. And he goes, "Well, I don't think we're going to do anything because he can't afford another war, and he can't afford high oil prices. And so I think that once this is done, it goes back to 55 or 40. Now, the last part kind of took my breath away, kind of like the look you just had on my face. What's the chances oil is going to go to 40 anytime soon, Jan?
You know what? Oil going to 40, I would need to have a pandemic, I would need to have a recession, and I would need to have really, really stupid Saudi Arabians.
Okay.
None of those three is going to happen. None of those three are in my forecast. Saudi aren't dumb. The Saudi have a lot of control over how much they produce. The economy, as our oil trader friend said, one of the few reasons that President Trump might not go is because the repercussions of anything not being contained, i.e., right?
Yes. Anything
not being contained in the middle of, 17 million barrels a day of oil production capacity and export capacity around Iran. Right? Yeah. Any of those bits and pieces go, and they'll take a year or 2 or 3 to fix. We don't have that spare capacity, right?
No, we don't anymore.
So you would actually have a replay of something in the 70s when you and I were just like a glimmer in our daddy's eyes, right? We wouldn't even here. But the president, remember...
I had a fun time being that glimmer back then, too. It was...
And then way back then is when President Trump learned what happens when supply falls away. Yeah. That's when you get gasoline lines, that's when you get inflation, and yada, 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 yada. So oil going to 40, however, is, you have set up this economy to grow, right? And it's begun to grow pretty significantly.
And growing with low oil prices is a good thing.
Yes, and growing, I think it will do. And that means oil demand, whether our friends in Norway like that or not, it means oil demand. Same is happening in Europe. Same is happening in China. Same is happening in many emerging market economies. You are just this far away from a synchronized global industrial production cycle, right? Like a proper one.
Yeah.
And that comes with oil demand growth. Last time we saw oil demand growth of the kind that I'm expecting was 2017. Right?
Okay, where we set records for a couple of years in a row.
And it was, so I have like 1.5 million of demand growth this year. And I have...
That's upper end of most people's range.
A little bit higher. I have the Chinese continuing to build inventories, I think. I don't really know that yet, but that to me will be icing on the cake.
That's what I understand. Right? That's what I understand.
And so if I get that kind of icing, I don't have a surplus. Your trader friend in the elevator is talking about $40 because most people's balances have this ginormous surplus, right? And that ginormous surplus surely is going to hit. And that's going to get us down to 50 and 40 and whatever.
So OPEC Plus has already put 2.8 million barrels back on the market. Mm-hmm.
And they did. And we absorbed it.
I know.
And that should be the message from 2025. We came out of 2025 with everyone and their kid brother out where I live, up in New York, up where everybody does their balances on the sell side and everybody gets them wrong every time, except sometimes we're not that wrong, right? And so the consensus up there was, you're going to have a ginormous surplus and that will crash oil prices. And they began saying that, remember, a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
Q4 2024 was meant to be the proverbial shit show, right? Then it was going to be the first quarter, 25. Then it was the second, the third, the fourth.
We kicked the can down the road the whole time, yeah.
Dang, right? And I'm like, we began getting kind of fed up with that. Sort of in the third quarter, we began to look at our balances again a little bit more closely. I said, this is happening, that's happening. We don't really see the surplus in crude oil. Crude oil is the stuff that we all care about, the stuff that gets priced.
Okay, so it's NGLs that are the evil.
So there's several evils. So if there's like a 2 million surplus, to keep nice round numbers, right? About 1 million of that was going to Chinese inventory.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
The better part of 600-700 of that was NGLs. So I'm left with about 200-300 surplus. All that really did was rebuild the inventories that we had drained at the end of 24 to go back to normal, which is where we ended 2025. Yeah. Now we're in 2025. We have 2 point whatever the hell less spare capacity from our friends in OPEC.
Yeah.
We have left in Saudi Arabia 1. We have left in the UAE maybe 200 or 300, and we may have 200 in Iraq. That's it. And this is spare capacity defined as give it to me inside 30 days and sustain it for 90.
Yeah.
Right? That really old-fashioned, the one that we all grew up, the one that we all grew up knowing about, right? And then all these people want to give you different definitions. Well, if I give the Saudis 6 months and they can do 2, I'm like, sure. I stick wings on a pig, it flies. Whatever. It's not relevant. Right?
Yeah, and I don't think they can do 1 million in 6 months either.
There is that. So we are skating on relatively thin ice. We are going to have our friends add a little bit more over the next couple of months. The Saudis and co will decide on Sunday, March 1, how much and how fast they will give back incremental. There's another 1.6 nominally available. Well, that nominal number in real terms is closer to about 700,000, right? From OPEC. Okay. If the Chinese continue to build inventories, that sort of kind of takes care of that.
We estimate they're only about 60% full, so there's no reason they wouldn't continue to grow.
I think that's right.
Yeah.
I think that's right. I mean, one of my friends, the one that always comes up with these really, really cute phrases, right? Arjun has a way for doing that. And last year he goes like, yeah, all of you guys, what you're all talking about, what the Saudis and the OPEC is doing is pump for Trump. I was like, dang, I should have thought of that. But it's true, right? Mm-hmm. Now, what is happening now is that you have, with all this geopolitical tension, your bean counters always told you that you have to live with just-in-time inventory, right?
That's right.
What is that becoming now? Just-in-case inventory. I want a few barrels, just in case.
Okay.
And that's what's happening now. You see the Koreans...
We're stockpiling.
Bingo. And we're doing that not just in China. I mean, if I'm India, I don't have inventories. Never mind, I don't have inventory space. Never mind, bad example. The Japanese do, the Taiwanese do, the Koreans do, and they all need oil. They all have no oil themselves, right? And the Europeans do. And all of those guys, I imagine, all of those refining supply managers are all having to worry about just in case.
Yeah. Making sure they don't run out.
And I think that's what's going on.
Well, we do it in everything. We double order in times of need.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Because your operations need to keep on going.
Okay, so this obviously bodes well for crude oil prices. Are you brave enough to put a price on?
You said it earlier, right? So you and I met sometime in 2012. I had joined Wall Street in 2005.
Okay.
With a guy called Bill Featherstone, Jamie Stone, John Rigby, and those guys.
Know them all.
And they had just asked Paul Ting to leave because Paul in 2005 was still saying that oil is always going to go back to $20. And they wanted somebody to forecast this commodity thing that wouldn't jeopardize them, right? Mm-hmm. I.e. they didn't want to do it themselves. So I got hired, was really, really fortunate, and I got to do this for a living, which is a really, really fun job, mm-hmm. right? Occasionally you want to be not so wrong. Occasionally it helps if you're right. But it's my job to put a number on these things.
Yes,
so
I know.
My number is $60 for this year, which in December of last year, when we reiterated it, was, oh, dang, that's a high number. Says you're a trader, right? I wanted to go to 40. And we said 60 because we don't think that the surplus is all that big, and we suspect that demand is going to take off. That was our thing.
Okay.
Now, I'm like, dang, I'm in February, right? And I'm kind of thinking maybe the low for the year is already behind us, right? And we're printing WTI 64, right?
Okay.
I'm kind of worried that either because we're going to get a ton of demand right? Or we get a supply disruption. We're going to track these prices a little bit higher, maybe $5-10 higher than 60.
Okay. So now we're talking about a big squeeze, low inventories, surging demand, and I can get oil prices to 70? Ish.
Maybe next year we get them over a little bit.
Whatever happened to $100? Whatever happened to oil's going to go to 100? I mean,
that's where you and I were working together. That was fun. The early teens. That was fun, no?
It was, and actually it was in the hundreds for a while.
3+ years.
Yeah.
Everybody said that 2008 was a dumb squeeze and was like the dot-com bubble or whatever.
Yeah.
And I held down a job in the early teens because I said, no, your cost of production has gone through the roof, right?
Yeah.
And you're chasing day rates. And I remember Total in 2014 had in their investor deck, their new normal price was north of $80 Brent, right? What we underestimated way back then was the shale in a pretty material fashion.
Sure.
Right? And
didn't know we could produce it. Yeah.
Or that we continue to produce it, or that we could grow it like we did, right? It was insane. And today I get that question. I'm kind of sorry that I missed Case and his presentation, because I imagine that Case is telling us that we're not done growing yet. Right?
No, the overall basin may have a challenge, but individual companies can still do it. And the idea is we're out of first-tier acreage, and we're not. It's been reduced. I don't argue that. But technology has a way of turning tier 2 into at least tier something better, and so it's the economics of the rocks.
Yes.
But the average oil price for the last 25 years is $63. And you make a point that back in the early teens we had $100 oil prices for over 3 years. Mm-hmm. And you say that to people now, and they go, wow, that must have been amazing. And we think to ourselves, it wasn't really that long ago, okay? And now we're sitting here going, boy, I'm bullish, 70-ish.
Yeah, and I think that 70 is a pretty rich number. I think a lot of guys here are going to make a ton of money in that environment. I don't see anybody growing until you get 80. But I also think that my demand growth is, what I call a lot is 1.5 million.
Yeah.
10 years ago, what I call a lot is 2 million or 3 million,
yeah.
right? And I do have some others that are continuing to grow, right? Like Brazil, Guyana, Canada, even Argentina is growing. Where we are declining, like in the UK, I'm declining 10%. Okay, UK is declining 10%. 10 years ago, that would have meant 300,000 barrels a day. Today, that means 60. Yeah. Right? So your declines are smaller, literally. Right?
North Sea's just gotten eviscerated, and that's just the saddest thing going. They're 1.2% of global emissions, so they cut down all their oil drilling and kill their economy.
There is, I always figured that in some weirdo way, Miliband and Greta Thunberg are related, or at least part of the same religion, right? But it is become a religion, and I met Mr. Miliband once. Let's just say that Mom always told me that you can't say ugly things about people, so I won't say nothing. But it is a confused ideology, right? Precisely because of what you said.
Yeah.
And the joke was always, and I still, being Dutch and all, I still blame my own politicians for the joke or the lie, whatever you want to call it, that you can deliver green and net zero at no incremental cost. And I'm like, dude, come on.
Sounds great, though, doesn't it?
And anyway, we are...
Europe's figuring that out.
I think so.
It's just going to...
I still think it's going to take more time.
It is, and it's much like us. We don't recognize a problem until it's really become a problem, as opposed to way early, so it never gets to be a problem. But that's just us. So LNG, natural gas, has become such a global commodity with LNG. The U.S. is now, I saw a couple weeks ago, the export number was 20 Bs. That's a chunk, and it's expected to go to like 28 by the end of the decade.
That's right.
The fear is now, of course, that we're going to do the same thing to LNG that we're doing to AI data centers. We're going to have a glut of LNG here in about 3 years. Do you have an opinion on the global economy for natural gas?
Yeah, I think the glut's here. I don't think we need to wait 3 years for it. I think that you saw examples of it already. If you go all the way back to November of last year, before the winter, right? I said facetiously, in November, you should kind of be getting ready for winter, right? And you had LNG tanker rates go through the roof, right? Just the cost of renting a boat went through the roof. I was fortunate. It was late November. I was at some thing in New York, and a bunch of my friends from Boatner Partners were there. And Boatner Partners know a few things about LNG, right?
Smart guys.
And they said, dude, the glut's here. I'm like, what the F are you talking about, right? Look at these tanker rates. What is that really? But the supply chain is suddenly getting clogged. Why is it getting clogged? Because you're putting too many molecules into it, and the guys that are supposed to be taking it
Aren't taking it.
ain't taking it. And this is Europe in November, because it hadn't got cold yet. I'm like, yeah, we'll just wait a little bit. And then they said that they had heard, so this is like a rumor twice removed, right?
Yeah.
That they had heard that on the Gulf Coast there was one train that had been forced to cycle down because there was nowhere to go to put the gas. That's November of 2025, right?
Wow.
Now, right here, right now, you have an anecdote that I picked up yesterday from, I forget what publication, that somebody in Australia, east coast of Australia, thing called close to Perth, I believe, right? Mm-hmm. They took that cargo 24,000 kilometers around the world to find an off-taker. I mean, dude, that is Feb of 26.
Well, considering you're already in Southeast Asia, which is your highest demand for LNG anywhere in the world.
It was saturated. So they went
if you were just going to hang out in Perth, I used to live in Perth once. If you were just going to hang out in Perth for a while, I understand it, but that was at sea. And at sea, it all looks the same. That's wild.
Right? So I think that what needs to happen is that price of LNG that you saw in Europe last year at around 11, you saw in Asia at around 11, and last year, by the way, China imported less LNG than it did in 2023 because didn't need it. Right? Everybody, I'm not sure who's here from Shell or BP or any one of those outfits that will tell you that on a 20, 10, 15-year horizon, your LNG demand in Asia is meant to go like that.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And I'm always like, why? They go, coal to gas. I'm like, why? You have coal there.
Tons of it.
Right? Well, as economies get richer, they want to pollute less. And I'm like, yeah, maybe. It's like, dude, you brought on the most coal-fired capacity in China last year than in any other year, right? 2
coal plants a week.
And you're modernizing. And we laid it out in what we call the spectrum of energy, the thing that we are the most proud of producing. We have these little charts in there that the pipeline of new coal-fired power stations in China is still chock-a-block full.
Yeah.
We're going to be adding to these things all the way through 30. Now, you're not necessarily going to fire it all up, but what you are doing is you're building in the resilience and the redundancy. Mm-hmm. You're growing the output, don't laugh, you're growing the output of wind and solar massively. You're adding a base load of nuclear faster than anybody else, right? And if you are lucky, you can make ends meet with that whole combo of renewables, nuclear, hydro, right, and coal the whole way through.
The new dam's going to put Three Gorges to shame?
Bingo.
I mean, Jesus.
It is big. And so they're going to grow their AI power consumption phenomenally. Yes. No question, right?
But historically, through time, the countries that have the most electrical power, the most power at the cheapest price, win by far the most. This is what's killing Germany today. And you're losing the high-end manufacturer.
You know what is one of the few exceptions? And you know it, because we both like going there. You know, a little something that the capital of which is Paris, France. Right? The French have had the cheapest electricity.
They didn't shut down any of their nukes.
1980s, right? they learned a lesson. They have a few other things that are going wrong, whereby they're not the most productive, right? Whatever. But they do have really good.
From a power point of view, they win in Europe.
They are winning. The whole Ontario basin is winning with hydro. I mean, you're absolutely right that you need low-cost electricity. Here in this country, we have it, right? If we want it, we have gas, we have everything. We need to get at it. But just to finish this LNG thing, right? What I really worry about is that you're counting on just this relentless demand growth from not burning coal but burning gas instead.
Yes.
And I seriously question that, right? And so I'm a little bit worried about it. So where are you going to actually get rid of all this supply is if you make your LNG competitive with coal.
Yes.
What does that mean? $6-7, maybe $8 if you're lucky, and there's a lot of NOxes and X's that you need to pay for, right? So in Japan, maybe it's 8. In China, maybe it's 7 or 6, right? But that's the kind of price levels at which you can clear all this LNG supply. And that's going to happen fast or not fast. And if it happens fast, then your utilization rates in the Gulf are just fine. And if it doesn't happen fast, then maybe utilization needs to suffer a little bit. Yeah. But that struggle, that volatility, that's here. We don't need to wait 3 years for that.
Okay, interesting. Okay. That's almost scary.
No, it just means that you're living on thinner margins, and that you're going to be living with a lot of volatility. So you probably need some pretty darn good traders in there too.
Well, in the last couple of years, we've put 22 new regas facilities into Europe.
Sure.
It turned out that Pakistan had the worst contracts, and so when they started diverting cargoes to Europe a couple years ago, Pakistan was the one that got screwed the most, and then last year they announced, screw this LNG stuff, we're going back to coal. So rationing the world's resources, the only way it's ever done correctly is through price.
Yep.
So that's...
No, and our president is not alone in saying that coal is an alternative that needs to be part of the mix, right? And that applies to not just Texas. It applies to Pakistan, it applies to India, especially India. It applies to China, right? It applies to Indonesia. And then our friends in East Africa go like, why shouldn't it apply to us? What is the World Bank doing saying, I cannot use that jab?
Yeah.
Right? So all of these things are debates. And price will do some adjudicating of that. And I think it happens at a lower price.
Which is interesting because a lot of the stuff we're talking about adds costs. But like you say, that's what squeezes margins.
Yes.
And our industry has not been known for generating really high margins or really high returns. And but so as we become more technical, the technology companies command those kind of returns and margins.
Yes.
And so as we become more technologically driven, and I know that as an industry we are wildly so now, but in every facet of it, I think that's going to be...
It's going to get, and I think that you see this. You see this now in, take another example, refining, right? With the applied technology, those machines are run much more efficiently and much better. You know ahead of time when a catalyst is going to fail or not. Your maintenance periods are shorter. Your uptime is higher.
It's not just debottlenecking. You're right.
Yeah. It's process technology.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. And you see that. You're going to see the same thing in LNG. I mean, you're not going to wait for a train to blow up. You're going to know when it's blowing up, right? I mean, unless you're Freeport, of course, but that's a whole different story. Sorry. I didn't say that.
All right, sir. Jan, I very much appreciate the opportunity to catch up with you.
It's good to see you, Jim. It's really good to see you.
Appreciate it. It's enlightening. You always have a very interesting perspective.
Thank you.
I'd like to thank everybody for joining us today.
Thank you.
We've got some interesting people lined up in the future. None as interesting as Jan, but we do the best we can do. So thank you all very much. Goodbye from Energy Espresso.
Goodbye.